Captain Alina Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, staring at the data scrolling across her screen. Her coffee had gone cold 20 minutes ago. She had not noticed. The numbers in front of her made no sense, and yet the computer had verified them 6 times. "Run it again," she said quietly. Dr. Amir Hassan, the ship's xenolinguist, shook his head. "Captain, I have run it 12 times now. The result is the same every time. The signal is 12,000 years old, and it is in perfect English." Lena felt a chill run down her spine. 12,000 years ago, humans had been living in caves and hunting with stone tools. They had not invented writing yet. They certainly had not invented radio signals or space travel. "That is impossible," she said. "I agree," Amir replied. "And yet here it is." The year was 2247. Humanity had discovered faster than light, traveled 60 years ago, and had joined the Galactic Concord, a union of intelligent species that had existed for millions of years. Humans were the youngest members, often treated like children by the elder races. The Vorians, the Valanthi, the Kethmari, they had all built empires, while humans were still learning to make fire. Alina played the signal again. A voice spoke through the bridge speakers, scratchy and distorted by time and distance, but unmistakably human. "We are dying. We were wrong about everything. Only the fearless can save what remains. Coordinates follow." The coordinates pointed to a region of space that made Elena's stomach tighten. The Hollow. Every spacefaring species knew about the Hollow. It was a dark zone on every star map, a place where ships went in and never came out. The door to the bridge slid open, and Kethra walked in. He was a Vorian, a tall being with silver skin and 4 arms. His people had assigned him to the Prometheus as an observer, which everyone understood meant spy. The Vorians did not trust humans. They thought humans were too emotional, too unpredictable, too dangerous. Kethra's large black eyes fixed on the screen. "You received a signal from the Hollow." It was not a question. Alina nodded. "You must ignore it," Kethra said. His voice was calm, but Alina had learned to read Vorians over the past year. He was afraid. 17 expeditions have entered the Hollow over the past 3 million years. 17 species sent their best ships and their bravest crews. None returned. Not one. "The signal is in English," Alina said. "Human English. From 12,000 years before we invented language." Kethra was silent for a long moment. "That changes nothing. The Galactic Concord has forbidden any response to signals from the Hollow. If you enter that zone, you will be violating galactic law." Lena looked at her crew. There were 43 people on the Prometheus. Scientists, engineers, pilots, doctors. They had families back on Earth. They had lives waiting for them. She had no right to ask them to fly into a place where no one had ever survived. But that voice, that human voice, calling across 12,000 years, someone had sent that message knowing it would take millennia to arrive. Someone had believed that humans would answer. "What do we know about what is inside the Hollow?" Alina asked. Kethra hesitated. "My people have ancient texts. Religious writings from before we achieved space travel. They speak of the architects." Amir leaned forward. "The architects. The species that supposedly created all intelligent life in the galaxy?" "They are not supposed," Kethra said sharply. "They were real. They existed millions of years before my people were born. They seeded life across thousands of worlds, and then they vanished. Our texts say they left something behind in the Hollow, something that tests all who enter." "Tests them how?" Alina asked. "The texts do not say. They only warn that the architects left a guardian, something that judges whether visitors are worthy." "Worthy of what?" Kethra's 4 arms folded across his chest. "Worthy of their final gift? Captain, I am asking you to turn away. Whatever is in the Hollow, it has destroyed species far older and wiser than yours. Humans are young. You have so much potential. Do not throw it away on a mystery." Lena appreciated his concern. She truly did. But she could not stop thinking about that voice. "We were wrong about everything." Only the fearless can save what remains. She turned to her crew. I am not going to order anyone to come with me. This is a volunteer mission. Anyone who wants to leave can take the shuttle back to the nearest station. No judgment, no consequences. She waited. No one moved. Lieutenant Chen, her pilot, spoke first. Captain, I did not join this crew to play it safe. I joined to explore. Whatever's in the hollow, I want to see it. Dr. Hassan nodded. A 12,000-year-old message in English? This is the greatest linguistic mystery in human history. I have to know the answer. One by one, every crew member voiced their agreement. Even the youngest ensign, a 22-year-old engineer named Sarah Park, stood tall and said, I am with you, Captain. Alina felt a warmth spread through her chest. Pride. These were her people. This was humanity at its best. She turned to Kethra. You can take the shuttle if you want. We will not force you to come. The Vorian stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, he shook his head. If I leave now, I will never know what happens. And I find that I cannot live with that. I will stay, but I want it recorded that I think this is madness. Lena smiled. Noted Lieutenant Chen set a course for the hollow. The Prometheus turned toward the dark zone on the map. As they approached the boundary, Alina felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. Behind them lay safety, law, everything they knew. Ahead lay the unknown. They crossed the boundary. Every light on the ship went dark. Every screen went blank. The engines fell silent. For 3 terrible seconds, the Prometheus drifted in absolute darkness. Then power returned. The lights flickered back on. The engines hummed to life. But when Alina looked out the viewport, she felt her breath catch in her throat. The stars were different. Completely different. Constellations she had memorized since childhood were gone. In their place were formations she had never seen before. Where are we? Lieutenant Chen whispered. Dr. Hassan checked his instruments with shaking hands. According to our sensors, we are still in the same location. But these stars? Captain, these stars should not exist. Some of them are types that went extinct billions of years ago. Kethra made a sound that might have been a prayer in his native language. Alina gripped the arms of her chair and stared at the impossible sky. We are exactly where we are. Supposed to be, she said quietly, wherever that is. The signal pulsed again, stronger now, guiding them deeper into the impossible darkness. And somewhere in that darkness, something ancient was waiting. The Prometheus drifted through a graveyard of giants, Captain. Lena Vasquez stood at the viewport, unable to speak. Around them floated thousands of ships. Some were small, no bigger than shuttles. Others were massive, stretching for miles, their hulls dark and silent. They came in every shape imaginable. Spheres, triangles, spirals, designs that hurt the eye to look at. Captain, Dr. Hassan said, his voice barely above a whisper. Some of these ships are millions of years old. I am detecting hull compositions that match species we only know from fossils. Lieutenant Chen navigated carefully through the floating wreckage. It is like a museum. A museum of everyone who ever tried to reach the center of the hollow. Kethra stood, frozen, his silver skin pale. The Volanthi expedition of 3 million years ago? They were considered the greatest explorers in galactic history. Their ship is here. I can see their markings. Alina noticed something else. Among the ancient vessels, some ships looked almost new. What about those? Hassan checked his readings. Those appear to be Kethmari science vessels. They disappeared about 800 years ago. And there? Those are Vorian military ships. They vanished 2,000 years before that. All of them came here, Alina said. All of them failed. The signal pulsed again, pulling them forward. They followed it through the graveyard until they reached the largest ship Alina had ever seen. It was shaped like a teardrop, perfectly smooth, made of a material that seemed to glow with its own inner light. That is not possible, Kethra said. He stumbled backward, nearly falling. That design. Those markings? That is an architect vessel. Alina looked at him. You recognize it? Every child in the galaxy knows those symbols. The architects. The ones who made everything. They have been gone for millions of years. We thought all their technology was lost forever. Alina made her decision quickly. We are boarding it. Hassan, Chen, you are with me. Kethra, you can stay here if you prefer. The Vorian straightened his shoulders. No, I must see this. Even if it kills me, I must see this. They took a shuttle across to the massive vessel. Finding an entrance was easy. The ship seemed to welcome them, a door sliding open as they approached. Inside, the air was fresh and clean. As if the vessel had been waiting for visitors, the corridors were vast, built for beings much larger than humans. Lights activated as they walked, guiding them deeper into the ship. Finally, they reached a chamber filled with glowing crystals arranged in complex patterns. Some kind of data storage, Hassan said, reaching out to touch one. The moment his fingers made contact, the room came alive. Images projected into the air around them. Stars forming, planets cooling, the first simple life emerging from ancient oceans. They watched the history of the galaxy play out in minutes. Then they saw the architects. They were beautiful. Tall, graceful beings with elongated bodies and faces that seemed to radiate kindness. They moved through the images like gods, touching planets and leaving life behind. They created the Vorians, engineering them for wisdom and patience. They created the Volanthe, designing them for strength and courage. They created 100 species, each one perfect for a specific purpose. And then the images showed. Earth Alina watched as the architects studied the small blue planet. She watched them debate, argue, consider. This would be their last creation, the images explained. Their final experiment? They made us, she breathed. The architects made humanity. Hassan was reading symbols that scrolled alongside the images. His face had gone white. Captain, the other species were designed with specific traits. The Vorians were given long lifespans and calm temperaments. The Volanthe were given physical power and fearlessness. Each species was optimized for something. What were we optimized for? Hassan was quiet for a long moment. Adaptability through adversity. The architects did not give us any special gift. Instead, they gave us the ability to grow stronger when we face hardship. Other species freeze when they feel fear. We transform it. Kethra made a strangled sound. That cannot be right. Humans are one of the weakest species in the Concord. You live short lives. You have no natural weapons. Your bodies are fragile. But we do not stop, Alina said slowly, understanding beginning to dawn. When things get hard, we do not give up. We push through. We adapt. We overcome. The images continued. The architects explained that they had discovered something terrible. The universe was dying. Entropy was accelerating. Within 50,000 years, every star would burn out. Every planet would freeze. All life would end. They had searched for a solution for millions of years. They found only one possibility. A device that could restart the universe, rekindle the stars, it could give life another chance. But the device required something no species had ever been willing to give. What does it require? Alina asked the empty room. The images answered. The device required operators who could face their own complete erasure. Not death, erasure. Anyone who activated the device would never have existed. Their species would never have existed. Every memory, every achievement, every moment of their history would vanish. That is why they made us, Hassan said, his voice trembling. They needed a species that could face that fear. That could accept total annihilation for the sake of others. Alina felt the weight of it pressing down on her. 12,000 years ago, the architects had created humanity and then sent a signal forward through time. A signal that only humans would answer. A signal that called specifically to the one species designed to face the impossible. The distress signal is a test, she said. They wanted to see if we would come. If we would be brave enough to even try. The crystals pulsed with new information. Coordinates appeared, pointing to the center of the hollow, a place called the Threshold. There's more, Hassan said, reading frantically. Something waits at the threshold. Something that has been waiting for humanity specifically. Kethra backed toward the door. We should leave. We should take this information back to the Concorde. Let them decide what to do. Alina shook her head. We came this far. We finished what we started. Before anyone could respond, the ship shuddered. Warning lights flashed across the walls. Through the transparent sections of the hull, Alina saw something moving among the wrecked vessels outside. Massive shapes. Biomechanical creatures the size of buildings. They unfolded from the wreckage like nightmares coming to life. Chen asked, reaching for a weapon that would be useless against such giants. Kethra fell to his knees, terror plain on his face. The Keepers. The text spoke of them, the guardians left behind by the architects. The creatures surrounded the architect vessel. Their many eyes focused on the tiny humans inside, and then a voice filled the chamber. Ancient and vast, you have come seeking the threshold. Before you may proceed, you must prove your worth. Prepare yourselves. The trial begins now. Alina reached for her crew, pulling them close. The trial had begun. The world dissolved around Alina Vasquez. One moment she stood in the SAQ vessel with her crew. The next, she was alone in darkness. Complete darkness. No ship, no crew, no sound, except her own breathing. Hello, she called out. Her voice echoed into nothing. Then the darkness changed. Shapes formed around her. Walls, floors, a ceiling. She recognized this place. She had tried to forget it for 15 years. The research station on Titan. Alina felt her heart begin to race. No, not this. Anything but this. She stood in the corridor of the station, red emergency lights flashing. Alarms screamed. Through the windows, she could see the surface of the moon cracking, methane geysers erupting everywhere. The station was coming apart, and in front of her stood 12 people, scientists, engineers, her crew from that terrible mission 15 years ago. Captain, one of them said, Dr. Marcus Webb. She remembered his face. She remembered everything about him. The escape pod only has room for 6. You have to choose. This was the trial. Alina understood now. The Keepers were making her relive her deepest fear. Her greatest failure? This is not real, she said, but her voice shook. Choose, Dr. Webb said. You have 30 seconds. The station groaned. The walls cracked. Alina looked at the 12 faces before her. She knew what was coming. She had lived this moment. She had spent 15 years trying to bury it. She had chosen. 6 people had lived. 6 people had died. 20 seconds, Dr. Webb said. Alina felt tears running down her face. I cannot do this again. I cannot. You must. Choose, or everyone dies. Alina closed her eyes. In the real memory, she had panicked. She had picked the 6 closest to her. Later, she learned that one of the people she had left behind was 3 weeks pregnant. Another had been about to retire to care for his sick mother. The guilt had never left her. The fear of making wrong choices had haunted her every command decision since. 10 seconds. Lena opened her eyes. She looked at the faces before her. She felt the fear crushing her chest, making it hard to breathe, and then she did something different. I was afraid, she said out loud. I was 28 years old and terrified. I made a choice in 3 seconds that I have regretted for 15 years. I chose wrong. I chose based on panic, not reason. The countdown paused. I carried that guilt, Alina continued, her voice growing stronger. I let it define me. I was so afraid of making another wrong choice that I almost stopped making choices at all. She looked at the vision of Dr. Webb. But I learned something. The fear never goes away. The guilt never disappears. I will carry them until I die. And that is okay. Because the moment I accepted that, I became free. The station flickered. I am afraid right now, Alina said. I am afraid of failing my current crew. I am afraid of what waits at the threshold. I am afraid that I am not good enough for what the architects need. But I am here anyway. Because that is what humans do. We feel the fear, and we move forward. The vision shattered like glass. Alina found herself back in the architect vessel, but she was still alone. The keeper's voice filled the chamber. In 3 million years, no being has responded as you have. Others fought their fear. Others denied it. Others were consumed by it. You accepted it. Why? Alina thought carefully before answering. Because fear is not the enemy. Surrender is. If I fight my fear, I give it power. If I deny it, I lie to myself. But if I accept it, I can carry it with me and still move forward. The voice was silent for a long moment. Your species is strange, it finally said. We begin to understand why the architects chose you. The darkness lifted. Alina found herself in a large chamber. Her crew stood around her, some of them looking shaken. Dr. Hassan was pale but steady. Lieutenant Chen had tears on her face, but stood tall. But Kethra lay on the ground. Curled into a ball, his 4 arms wrapped around himself. Alina ran to him. Kethra. Kethra, can you hear me? The Vorian's eyes were open but empty. He was breathing, but there was no one home. Whatever he had faced in his trial had broken something inside him. He faced his people's greatest fear, the Keeper's voice said. The extinction of his species. He saw his world burn. His family died. His entire civilization reduced to ash. He could not accept it. He could not move past it. Will he recover? Alina asked. Unknown. His mind has retreated somewhere safe. Perhaps he will return. Perhaps not. Alina felt anger rising in her chest. You had no right to do this to him. We had every right. We were created to ensure only the worthy reached the threshold. Your companion was not worthy. You and your human crew passed the trial. He did not. Hassan helped Alina lift Kethra and carry him to a seat. The Vorian did not respond. You are cruel, Alina said to the keepers. You are honest. The universe is cruel. What waits at the threshold is crueler still. If your companion could not face a vision, he could not face the truth. Better to learn this now. Alina wanted to argue, but she knew the keepers did not care. They were machines following programming millions of years old. You have passed the trial, the keepers said. The path to the threshold is open. But before you go, we must give you a warning. What warning? In 3 million years, many species have reached this chamber. Your species is the first designed specifically for what lies ahead. The architects believed humans could succeed where all others failed. We hope they were right. What do you mean, hope? We are not certain. The architects were brilliant, but they were not gods. They made mistakes. Humanity might be their greatest achievement. Or humanity might be their final failure. We cannot know until you reach the threshold. The walls of the chamber shifted, revealing a passageway that led deeper into the hollow. Oh, the keepers said. Find what the architects left for you. And when you do, remember this. Being fearless does not mean having no fear. It means having fear and choosing to act anyway. Your species understands this. No other species ever has. Alina looked at her crew, shaken but standing, afraid but determined. Let us go, she said. They carried Kethra with them as they walked into the passageway. Behind them, the keepers watched in silence, and somewhere ahead, at the heart of the hollow, the last survivor of an ancient race was counting the final hours of a 12,000-year wait. The passage led them to the center of everything, Captain. Alina Vasquez stepped into a chamber that defied description. The walls were made of light itself, swirling with colors that had no names. In the center floated a platform, and on that platform lay a single being. The last architect, Alina had seen images of them in the crystal records. They had looked powerful, godlike, eternal. This one looked like it was dying. The being was ancient beyond measure. Its once glowing skin had faded to gray. Its long limbs trembled with each breath, but its eyes, when they opened, still held a light that made Alina feel like a child standing before something vast and unknowable. You came. The voice was weak but filled with emotion. After 12,000 years, you finally came. Alina approached slowly. You sent the signal. You have been waiting all this time. It's waiting, hoping, doubting. The architect tried to rise, but could not. I am called the one who remained. When my people left this universe, I stayed behind. I had to know if our final creation would answer the call. Dr. Hassan stepped forward. Your people left the universe. Where did they go? Beyond. Into a realm where physical laws do not apply. We could not take our final gift with us, and we could not leave it unguarded. So I remained. I have watched civilizations rise and fall. I have seen species come to the hollow and fail the trials. I began to lose hope. The architect's eyes fixed on Alina. But then I felt your ship cross the boundary. I felt human minds enter the hollow. And I knew our waiting had not been in vain. Alina sat beside the ancient being. Up close, she could see how thin it had become, how much effort each breath required. Tell us, she said gently. Tell us why we are here. The one who remained gathered strength and spoke. My people discovered a truth that broke us. The universe is dying. Not in billions of years, as most species believe. In 50,000 years, entropy is accelerating. The stars will burn out. The planets will freeze. Every living thing will perish in the cold and the dark. Lena felt the words like physical blows. 50,000 years. It seemed like a long time. But for civilizations that had existed for millions of years, it was barely a moment. We searched for a solution, the architect continued. We explored every corner of reality. We studied every law of physics. We built machines that could reshape matter and energy. And finally, we found an answer. The being gestured weakly, and a projection appeared above them. It showed a device, beautiful and terrible, floating in the void between galaxies. The renewal engine. It can restart the universe. Rekindle every star. Reset entropy to zero. Give life another 100 billion years to exist and grow and dream. But there is a cost, Alina said. She already knew there would be. The engine requires operators, beings who must remain connected to it as it activates. These operators will not simply die. They will be erased. Completely, utterly. They will never have existed. Their species will never have existed. Every memory of them, every trace of their presence will vanish from all of time and space. The chamber was silent. We created 107 species. The one who remained said, we asked each of them if they would accept this burden when the time came. Every single one refused. Self-preservation is the deepest instinct. The fear of non-existence is absolute. Hassan spoke up. But humans are different. We designed you to be different. We gave you a gift no other species has. The ability to transform fear into purpose. To find meaning in sacrifice. To choose others over yourselves, even when facing oblivion. Lena stood and walked to the edge of the platform. She looked at the swirling walls. Thinking about what she had just heard, you were asking if humanity will agree. To be erased so the universe can survive. Yes. 50,000 years. Yes. She turned back to face the dying architect. You are asking the wrong question. The one who remained blinked. I do not understand. You are asking if we are brave enough to die for others. But humans have always done that. We have done it for thousands of years. Soldiers die for their countries. Parents die for their children. Strangers die for strangers. That part is easy for us. Then what is the right question? Elena sat down again, looking into those ancient eyes. The right question is whether we are wise enough to live correctly until that moment comes. 50,000 years is a long time. We could become selfish. We could forget why we exist. We could lose the very qualities that make us capable of this sacrifice. The architect stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, something like a smile crossed its face. In 12,000 years of waiting, I imagined this conversation many times. I never imagined this response. You are not asking whether you can face death. You are asking whether you can face life. Yes. Then you truly are what we hoped you would be. The one who remained reached out a trembling hand. Alina took it, feeling the cool, paper-thin skin. I am going to give you everything. All our knowledge. All our technology. The location of the renewal engine. Everything my people learned in our millions of years of existence. Use it wisely. Share it freely. And when the moment comes, I believe you will do what must be done. Light flowed from the architect into Alina and through her into the entire Prometheus crew. Knowledge flooded their minds. Star maps, scientific formulas, engineering designs, the location of the engine itself, and then the one who remained. Let out a final breath and was still. Alina sat with the ancient being for a long time. Around her, her crew wept silently. Even Kethra, still in his catatonic state, had tears running down his face. Finally, Hassan spoke. Captain Kethra is waking up. Alina turned to see the Vorian's eyes focusing, his forearms uncurling. He looked around the chamber with confusion and then horror as memories of his trial returned. I failed, he whispered. I could not face the fear. I am sorry. Alina helped him stand. You are here. That is what matters. Kethra shook his head. No, I saw something else in my vision. Something at the end, after the terror faded. A warning. What warning? The Vorian's voice trembled. Your people's government. Earth's leaders. They have been contacted by something. Someone who knows about the architects. Someone who wants this knowledge for their own purposes. Alina felt cold fear wash over her. What do you mean? I do not know the details. I only saw fragments. But Captain, whatever is waiting for us outside the hollow, it is not friendly. And it is not alone. Alina looked at her crew, then at the body of the last architect, then at the swirling walls that had protected this place for millions of years. They had found what they came for. They had received humanity's inheritance. Now, they had to make it home. The Prometheus emerged from the hollow into a wall of weapons. Captain Alina. Vasquez counted 50 warships forming a blockade around the exit point. They represented every major species in the Galactic Concord. Vorian dreadnoughts, Volanthi cruisers, Kethmari destroyers. All of them had their weapons powered and aimed directly at her ship. Captain, Lieutenant Chen said, her voice tight. We are being hailed. Put it through. The face that appeared on screen belonged to High Commander Sarath of the Volanthi. He was an imposing figure, covered in thick scales, with eyes that showed no warmth. Human vessel Prometheus. By order of the Galactic Concord, you are to surrender immediately. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with lethal force. Alina kept her voice calm. On what charges? You entered forbidden space. You violated the most sacred law of the Concord. And according to our intelligence, you have obtained architect technology. Sarath leaned forward. That technology belongs to all species. Your kind cannot be trusted with it. Your intelligence is fast. We only left the hollow 30 minutes ago. Sirath smiled coldly. We have been monitoring the hollow's boundary for centuries. The moment you entered, we began preparing. The Concord has decided that humanity is too young, too reckless, and too emotional to possess architect knowledge. Alina looked at her crew. They were exhausted, shaken from everything they had experienced. They had carried the body of the last architect back to the ship, hoping to give it a proper burial. They had witnessed the death of a being older than most stars, and now they faced destruction. What happens if we surrender? Alina asked. Your ship will be dismantled. The architect data will be extracted from your computers and your minds. Then you will be returned to Earth, and your species will be placed under permanent observation. And if we refuse? Sarath's smile disappeared. Then you will be destroyed. Every member of your crew will die, and we will recover the data from your wreckage. Alina muted the transmission and turned to Hassan. Can we run? The doctor shook his head. We are outnumbered and outgunned. They would catch us before we reached light speed. Can we fight? We would last maybe 2 minutes. Kethra stepped forward. He still looked weak, but his eyes were clear. Captain, there might be another way? I am listening. My people fear what they do not understand. All the elder races do. That is why they are here. They believe you will use the architect knowledge to dominate them. To become what the architects were? That is not why we came. I know. But they do not. Kethra's forearms gestured at the view screen. You must show them. You must prove that humans are not a threat, that you are something else entirely. Lena thought about the one who remained. She thought about the 12,000-year wait. She thought about why the architects had created humanity in the first place. Hassan, she said, can you broadcast to every ship in that armada? Yes, but they might jam us. Try anyway. Hassan worked quickly. Within moments, he nodded. You are live. Every ship is receiving. Alina unmuted the transmission. Sirath looked annoyed. Captain Vasquez, you are wasting time. Surrender now. Hi, Commander. I am about to give you something your species and every other species in this armada has wanted for millions of years. I am about to answer the greatest question in galactic history. Sirath hesitated. Curiosity warred with suspicion on his scaled face. The universe is dying, Alina said. Not in billions of years? In 50,000? Every star will burn out. Every world will freeze. Every civilization will end.
Murmurs came from the other ships.
Sirath's eyes widened slightly. The architects knew this. They built a device that can save the universe. But it requires a sacrifice that no species has ever been willing to make. Complete erasure. Total non-existence. Not just death, but the removal of everything you ever were from all of time. Alina paused to let the words sink in. The architects created humanity for one reason. They designed us to be capable of that sacrifice. They gave us the ability to face absolute fear and still move forward. They made us to save you. All of you. Every species in this galaxy. She began transmitting the architect data. Star maps, scientific knowledge, the history of the universe, the location of the renewal engine. Everything poured out of the Prometheus to every ship in the Armada. This is not our secret to keep, Alina said. This belongs to everyone. Because when the time comes in 50,000 years, it will not just be humans who need saving. It will be your children's children's children for 1,000 generations. Sirath watched his screen as the data flooded in. His expression shifted from suspicion to confusion to something Alina had never seen on a Valanthi face before. Wonder why? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Why would you share this? You could have used it to rule the galaxy, because that is not who we are. That is not who the architects made us to be. Alina stood tall on her bridge. Fear makes you want to destroy what you do not understand. Humanity chooses differently. We share, we trust. We invite every species to stand with us. Silence fell across the Armada. Then, one by one, ships began to lower their weapons. First a Vorian cruiser, then a Kethmari destroyer, then more and more until the entire formation stood down. Sirath stared at Alina for a long moment. How are you not afraid? You just gave away power that could have made humanity the dominant species in the galaxy. Lena smiled. I am terrified. We have always been terrified. But somewhere along the way, our species learned that fear is just the first step. What matters is the step after. The High Commander bowed his head slowly. I have served the Concord for 300 years. I thought I understood courage. I was wrong. One by one, ships in the Armada began to break formation. But instead of leaving, they moved to flank the Prometheus, to escort it, to honor it. Days later, Alina stood on Earth, looking up at a night sky full of stars. Behind her, representatives from 100 species had gathered to hear humanity speak about the future. Kethra stood beside her. He had returned to his people, carrying a new message. Fear was never the enemy, he told them. Surrendering to it was, Captain, he said quietly. What happens now? Alina thought about the one who remained, who had waited 12,000 years on faith. She thought about the architects, who had placed their hopes in a small, frightened species on a pale blue dot. Now we earn it, she said. 50,000 years is a long time. We need to become worthy of the sacrifice that waits at the end. Not just humans. Everyone. She looked at the assembled representatives from across the galaxy. Beings who had feared humanity now looked at them with something new in their eyes. Not suspicion. Not contempt. Hope. The architects made a bet 12,000 years ago, Elena said. Today, that bet begins to pay off. Above them, the stars burned bright. And somewhere out there, the renewal engine waited for the day when someone would be brave enough to save the universe. That day would come. Elena was sure of it, because humanity had finally learned what it was made for. And for the first time in history, the galaxy believed in them too.